In the very fabric of heaven, beneath the radiant glow of celestial light, there is a secret, a truth so terrifying, so powerful that even the angels themselves tremble at the thought of it. What if I told you that not all the fallen angels stayed in the abyss? What if one returned, not seeking redemption, but bringing with him a knowledge so dark, so potent, it could shatter everything you think you know about heaven and hell? This is the story of Namtael, the angel who defied the laws of heaven, a witness to an ancient prophecy, and the keeper of a secret so dangerous that even heaven could not allow it to be known. His return was not one of glory, but one of dread. For what he carried in his hands, wrapped in chains of divine light, was a scroll, a weapon of unimaginable power that could bring down the heavens themselves. But how could heaven allow a fallen one back? What could possibly be so vital, so urgent, that heaven would choose to keep this truth buried for eons? Why was the story of Namtael, the fallen angel who returned, never told? Could it be that there is a truth hidden in the folds of time, a truth that could change everything? In this video, we will unravel the mystery of Namtael. You will discover why his return to heaven was not just a tale of redemption, but a warning. We will peel back the layers of heaven's most guarded secret, a secret that could alter the fate of the entire cosmos. You will learn what Namtael saw in the abyss, and why his knowledge was deemed too dangerous to speak. His journey was not one of hope, but one of sorrow and silence, carrying with it a truth that heaven feared to confront. As we dive deeper into his story, ask yourself this: what if everything we've been told about heaven, about angels, about the divine, is only part of the story? What if the truth, as Namtael knew it, could alter the course of our understanding of the battle between light and darkness? Prepare yourself for a journey into the unknown, a journey that will challenge everything you thought you knew about angels, demons, and the celestial realm. So, if you feel this story has touched your soul, if you found a glimpse of light in the darkness, I invite you to share your thoughts. Comment below with your reflections, and if this video has brought you closer to understanding the mysteries of heaven, please like and subscribe. Every bit of support allows us to continue uncovering these divine secrets, and your presence here is invaluable. Let's explore the deeper truths together. There are moments in time when the universe shifts, when the unseen forces of heaven and earth converge in ways that no mortal could ever imagine. Namtael, the fallen angel who returned to heaven, knew this better than anyone. His journey was not one of triumph or heroism, but one of tragic understanding. He carried with him a truth so heavy that even the very gates of heaven trembled at its weight. His story is a reminder that knowledge, when it is too vast, too powerful, can become both a gift and a curse. Why did Namtael fall? Why did he, a celestial being entrusted with the sacred task of recording the divine will, choose to embrace the shadows rather than the light? The answer lies not in rebellion, but in a quiet, profound understanding of the fragility of heaven itself. Namtael did not fall because he was seduced by evil. He fell because he saw something others could not. He saw that even heaven, with all its glory, was built upon a delicate balance. He saw the cracks in the celestial walls, the doubts that were whispered when no one else was listening. And in that silence, Namtael chose not to fight, not to rebel, but to listen. It was in the stillness that he found the truth, and this truth became his burden. He was the keeper of secrets, the scribe of knowledge that could change everything. But the secret he carried was not one that could be spoken freely, not one that could be revealed without consequence. The knowledge of the future, the knowledge of a coming betrayal that would tear heaven apart, was far too dangerous to be spoken aloud. It was too powerful, too raw, and too real. Namtael knew this better than anyone. He understood that to reveal the truth would be to set in motion a chain of events that could unravel the very fabric of creation. And yet, despite the weight of this burden, Namtael returned to heaven. But his return was not one of redemption. It was one of sorrow, of quiet acceptance. He returned not to reclaim his place among the divine, but to fulfill a duty, to witness, to remember, and to keep the truth safe until the moment when it would be revealed. Namtael was not a warrior, not a judge, but a silent observer. His role was not to act, but to hold the knowledge of what was to come and wait for the time when it could no longer be hidden. Imagine for a moment carrying the weight of such knowledge. To know that the very future of heaven, the very future of the divine order, was at risk, and to be unable to speak of it. To watch as the angels around you continued in their duties, oblivious to the cataclysmic events that were brewing, knowing that the time for the truth had not yet come. How do you live with that kind of silence? How do you carry that kind of burden? Namtael's story is one of patience, of quiet strength. He knew that the truth he carried was not his to reveal. It was not his place to shake the foundations of heaven, to call for a reckoning. His role was to wait. And so he did. For centuries, he stood on the edge of heaven, watching, recording, waiting for the moment when the scroll he carried would finally be unsealed. But that moment was not yet. And so Namtael waited in silence. But what did he wait for? What was the secret that was too dangerous to be spoken? What was the truth that even the angels of heaven could not bear to know? The answer lies in the very nature of the scroll that Namtael carried, the scroll that contained the knowledge of the coming betrayal. This was not just any betrayal. It was the betrayal that would fracture heaven itself. It was the betrayal that would bring about the final war, the war that would decide the fate of the divine and the damned. And Namtael, the silent witness, was the only one who knew when it would happen. What if this knowledge, this truth, is not just a story from the ancient past? What if it is a warning? What if the same forces that once threatened to tear heaven apart are still at work today, lurking in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike? Namtael's story, though ancient, is not one that belongs only to the past. It is a story that speaks to the present, to the challenges we face today, to the choices we must make, and to the truth that we must all confront. For just as Namtael carried the knowledge of the future, so too must we all carry the knowledge of our own lives, our own choices, and the impact those choices will have on the world around us. Namtael's journey is a mirror for all of us. We too are tasked with bearing witness to the truth, to carrying the weight of knowledge that others may not be ready to hear. We too must sometimes choose silence, not out of fear, but out of respect for the truth that we hold. But just as Namtael's story was not one of finality, neither is ours. The truth will be revealed, and when it is, it will change everything. This is the power of the knowledge Namtael carried. It was not just a prophecy, it was a call to action, a reminder that the future is shaped by the choices we make today. And in this moment, we are all given the opportunity to make a choice. Will we continue in silence, carrying the truth in our hearts, or will we speak out, revealing what has been hidden for so long? The answer, like Namtael's journey, is not simple, but it is ours to decide. As we come to the end of this story, remember that Namtael's journey is not just one of divine mystery. It is a journey that speaks to the deepest parts of our own hearts. It challenges us to confront the truths that we may not want to face and to bear witness to the changes that are coming. It reminds us that sometimes silence is the most powerful action we can take. And it calls us to stand in the face of the unknown, knowing that the truth, when it is finally revealed, will change everything. And so, as you reflect on Namtael's story, ask yourself, what truths are you holding on to? What knowledge do you carry? And how will it shape the future? Remember, the story is not over. The scroll may still be sealed, but the time for its unsealing is coming. Will you be ready to face the truth when it is revealed, deep within the vast expanse of heaven, where the radiant light of creation fills every corner and the celestial bodies spin in harmonious perfection? There lies a secret, a truth so powerful, so dangerous, that even the very angels tremble at its mention. Namtael, a name long forgotten by those who dwell in the eternal realms, was the keeper of this truth, an angel who fell not out of malice, but out of understanding. His fall was not driven by hatred or rebellion, but by the weight of knowledge that no one else could bear. And this knowledge, once carried by Namtael, held the power to change everything. When the rebellion of Lucifer tore heaven apart, it was a moment of chaos, a moment of fire and fury. But for Namtael, the chaos did not come from the rage of fallen angels. It came from the silence. The stillness that followed the shattering of trust, the moment when heaven's eternal light flickered as doubts began to seep in. In that silence, Namtael, once a scribe, an observer of the divine, found the truths that would forever alter his fate. He saw the cracks in heaven's foundation, the fleeting moments of doubt that no one dared to acknowledge. And when Lucifer whispered his doubts into the ears of the angels, Namtael did not rise to condemn him. Instead, he listened, not out of agreement, but out of understanding. And that, right there, was the beginning of his descent. For Namtael was not like the others who fell. He did not fall with hatred in his heart. He did not fall in anger or vengeance. He fell because he could not decide between two sides, each pulling him in different directions. He did not fall because he was evil, but because he saw the truth in both heaven and in hell. He saw the beauty of creation, the sacredness of humanity, but he also saw the imperfection, the fragility. He saw heaven's light flicker in the presence of doubt, and he could not ignore it. Namtael, in his sorrow, descended into the abyss. Not the lake of fire, not hell itself, but a place between realms, where time and memory dissolve, and where nothing is as it seems. A place of reflection, of regret, and of waiting. In this place, Namtael wandered with his scroll, the weight of truth upon him. The abyss, where the fallen were chained and the watchers lingered in their own isolation, was where Namtael discovered what even Lucifer had never seen: a door, a veil, a crossing between worlds. This was not a physical door. It was not a gate that could be opened with a key. It was a moment in time where heaven and hell intertwined, where the laws of both realms bled into one another, and where the future was revealed. Through this veil came a whisper. Not a voice of temptation, not one of accusation, but of something ancient, something beyond heaven, beyond hell. The voice asked, "Why do you still carry the scroll?" Namtael did not answer in words. He answered in his heart, "Because if I do not remember the truth, no one else will." In that moment, the whisper changed. The voice grew louder, and the visions that Namtael saw were not of the past. They were of the future. A future even heaven did not know was coming. A war, a betrayal that would make Lucifer's rebellion seem like a mere tremor in the grand design. And in the black folds of the abyss, Namtael wrote it down. Every detail, every word, every horror that would one day unfold. His scroll transformed from a simple record of divine events into a weapon so powerful that even the seraphim would tremble if they ever laid eyes upon it. But Namtael did not seek to return with this knowledge as a conqueror. He did not march back into heaven, demanding to be heard. He walked toward the gates, holding his scroll wrapped in chains of divine light, his eyes downcast in sorrow, not in defiance. Heaven's gates did not open for him with joy. They opened with suspicion, with fear, because they knew who he was, an angel who had once stood in the halls of the eternal, now carrying a truth too dangerous to reveal. When he reached the gates, the angels who stood guard raised their fiery swords, prepared to strike him down. They did not know him as the scribe he once was. They saw only a stranger, a fallen angel, with a scroll wrapped in chains. They could not fathom the weight he carried, the burden that even the highest seraphim could not bear. And yet, Namtael did not raise his hand in defense. He did not flinch. He knelt. And then Michael, the archangel of war, descended. The very same Michael who had stood against Lucifer in the first rebellion, sword still burning with the flames of heaven's fury. He approached Namtael, eyes filled with suspicion, but there was something else in his gaze, a hint of fear. For Michael, in all his glory, understood something Namtael had known for so long. There was a truth that even heaven could not face. Namtael's voice was soft, carrying the weight of countless ages. What I carry does not belong in hell, and it cannot remain in my hands. Michael paused, the sword in his hand still, burning with the remnants of an ancient fire. There, in that moment of silence, Michael understood. He understood that the truth Namtael carried was not one of rebellion or war. It was a truth so profound, so dangerous, that even heaven itself could not bear to know it. The elders of heaven, the ones who sat upon the thrones of eternity, gazed upon Namtael with a mixture of fear and awe. His scroll was not just a prophecy. It was a weapon, a key to the final battle that would one day come, and heaven could not afford to ignore it. They made a decision that would echo through the ages. Namtael would remain, but not as he once was. He would be cast out from the inner circle of heaven, placed on its outer edges, forever watching, forever waiting. His role was not to act, but to observe. His role was not to fight, but to remember. The scroll he carried was sealed in 7 layers of divine inscription, hidden away in a chamber beyond the reach of angels, demons, or men. Only God, in his infinite wisdom, could unseal it. Only in the end would the truth be revealed. Until that day, the scroll would remain a silent testament to the future that had been foretold, a future that would one day come. Namtael's burden was not one of glory, it was not one of power. It was a burden of silence, a burden of waiting. But it was a burden that only he could carry, for he was the only one who had seen the future, the only one who could remember what would come. He was the witness to a truth that could not yet be known. And so, as we reflect on Namtael's journey, we must ask ourselves, what truths are we carrying? What knowledge, no matter how difficult, do we hold within us? And when the time comes for that truth to be revealed, will we be ready to face it? In the heart of heaven's perfection, amidst its eternal light, there exists a silence so profound, it can only be compared to the abyss itself. A silence filled with the weight of knowledge, too powerful to be spoken, too dangerous to be understood by any being, divine or fallen. This silence is the burden that Namtael, the angel who once stood in heaven's halls, bore alone. His story is not one of glory nor of a heroic return to the light, but a tale of quiet defiance, of carrying a truth so devastating that heaven itself could not afford to confront it. Namtael did not fall because of hatred or malice. He did not fall because he sought to defy the Creator. He fell because he understood something no other angel could, that heaven, with all its beauty, was not as invulnerable as it appeared. His eyes saw the subtle cracks in heaven's perfection, the moments of doubt and uncertainty that flickered like shadows under the divine radiance. It was in these moments that Namtael, a mere recorder of time and events, found the ultimate truth, that heaven itself, despite its eternal glory, was fragile. And in that fragile beauty he saw the potential for something even darker. When Lucifer began to whisper, when he first planted the seeds of rebellion among the angels, Namtael did not follow blindly. He listened, not with a heart of rebellion, but with one of deep, troubled curiosity. He saw the logic in Lucifer's words, not because he was corrupted, but because he understood the vulnerability of heaven, the truth that none could bear to speak, that even the light of heaven could be corrupted, that even the most divine creation could falter. But unlike Lucifer, Namtael did not choose to act out of vengeance or fury. He chose silence. He chose to fall, not in anger, but in sorrow, knowing that his fall would echo through the realms and shake the very foundation of heaven. What followed was not a descent into the fires of hell, not a plunge into eternal damnation. Namtael's fall was to a place between worlds, to the abyss, a realm where time and space no longer held dominion. The abyss was not a place of fire and brimstone, but a place of confusion, of isolation, where time itself unraveled and memory became distorted. This was the place where Namtael wandered with the scroll, the divine record of events, of intentions, of the truth that no one else could carry, the truth that no one else could bear to remember. In the suffocating silence of the abyss, Namtael found the thing he had not expected, a door, not a physical door with hinges or a handle, but a rift in the very fabric of reality. It was a door between realms, where the laws of heaven and hell overlapped in a terrifying moment of vulnerability. It was here that Namtael encountered something far older than Lucifer, something that had never been seen before. A voice, not of temptation, but of ancient wisdom. It was a whisper, a question that struck deep within Namtael's heart. Why do you still carry the scroll? For a moment, the weight of the question hung in the air, heavy and undeniable. Namtael did not answer in words. He did not need to. The truth was simple. He carried the scroll because it was his burden to bear, because if he did not carry it, the truth would be lost to the void. He carried it not to fight, not to judge, but to remember, to bear witness to a truth that could destroy heaven if it were ever spoken aloud. In that moment, as the voice in the abyss grew louder, the visions began. Namtael was no longer trapped in the past, no longer haunted by the rebellion of Lucifer. He was shown a future, one that no angel had ever foreseen. A future where the very trust that heaven had placed in its angels would be broken. A future where heaven itself would once again be torn apart, not by external forces, but by the betrayal of its own. This was the future that Namtael had seen, the future that he had written down in his scroll, the scroll that became a weapon of truth, a weapon of knowledge so potent that it could alter the course of all things. Namtael understood the implications of what he had witnessed. The knowledge he carried was not one of simple prophecy. It was a warning, a divine message meant for a time yet to come. He knew that revealing the contents of the scroll before its time would set in motion the very destruction it sought to prevent. The truth was too powerful, too dangerous. It was a truth that could destroy not just heaven, but the very essence of existence itself. With this knowledge, Namtael made a choice. He did not return to heaven as a conqueror, as one who would challenge the divine order. No, he returned as a witness. He carried the truth, not to reveal it, but to guard it. The scroll that he bore was sealed in chains of divine light, wrapped in 7 layers of protection, hidden away in a chamber where no being, angel or demon, could access it. Only God could unseal the scroll. Only at the appointed time would the truth be revealed. When Namtael returned to heaven, it was not with the fanfare of a victorious warrior. It was not with the embrace of forgiveness or redemption. He was not welcomed back as one who had triumphed over the darkness. Instead, he was met with suspicion, with fear, and with rejection. The very gates of heaven, which had once welcomed him as a servant of the divine, now closed before him. His return was not celebrated. It was feared. The angels, the very ones he had once stood alongside, saw him not as the scribe of heaven, but as a stranger, an outcast. They did not understand the burden he carried. They could not see the truth he had witnessed in the abyss. They could not fathom the weight of the scroll he bore. And so they raised their swords in defense, not of heaven's purity, but of its ignorance. Namtael did not resist. He did not fight. He knelt before them, holding the scroll, wrapped in divine chains, waiting for the moment when the truth would be revealed. And it was then that Michael, the archangel of war, descended, the same Michael who had once fought against Lucifer in the great rebellion. His sword burned with the fury of heaven's wrath. He stood before Namtael, ready to strike down the fallen angel. But when he looked upon Namtael's face, something shifted within him. He saw not a fallen angel, but a witness to the future, a witness to the truth that heaven could not bear to face. Michael, with all his might, asked, "Why have you returned?" Namtael's answer was simple, yet it carried the weight of the universe. "Because what I carry does not belong in hell, and cannot remain in my hands." Michael stood still for a moment. The answer was clear. The scroll was not just a record of events. It was a weapon, a truth so powerful that even the highest beings in heaven could not bear to confront it. And in that moment, Michael understood. Namtael was not there to destroy heaven, nor to save it. He was there to bear witness, to carry the truth until the time was right. The angels, the elders of heaven, made their decision. Namtael would remain, but not as he once was. He would be cast out of the inner circle, placed on the outer edges of heaven, forever watching, forever recording, but never again a part of the divine order. The scroll he carried would remain sealed, hidden away, until the appointed time. Only God could reveal its contents. Only when the world was ready would the truth be known. The burden of truth is not always one of glory. Sometimes it is a burden of silence, of waiting, of carrying a knowledge that could change everything. Namtael's story is not just one of rebellion or redemption. It is a story of understanding, of patience, and of the heavy weight of truth. It reminds us all that some truths are too powerful to be known before their time, and it calls us to question. What truths are we holding in our hearts? What knowledge are we carrying, waiting for the moment when we can finally speak it? As we stand at the edge of the vast eternal cosmos, where the very fabric of reality shudders beneath the weight of unspoken truths, let us pause. Let us reflect on the profound journey we have just traversed, the story of Namtael, the fallen angel, who carried with him a truth so dangerous, so potent, that heaven itself trembled at its revelation. His story is not just one of celestial betrayal or divine mystery, it is a mirror of our own struggle with truth, silence, and the burden of knowledge. Namtael's return to heaven was not one of redemption. It was a return to darkness, to silence, and to a deeper understanding of the fragility of existence. He did not carry a weapon forged of steel or fire, but one far more powerful, an unspoken truth that could tear apart everything we know about creation. His journey teaches us that some truths are too dangerous to be revealed until the appointed time. His role as the silent witness is a role that we all must sometimes take on, carrying truths within us that cannot yet be spoken, but that will one day change everything. In the silence of heaven's perfect halls, Namtael's presence was a reminder of the delicate balance that holds the universe together. His silence spoke louder than any words ever could. The truth he carried was not one of fire and brimstone, but one of cosmic gravity, a force that could tip the scales of divine justice. The scroll he carried, sealed away in chains of divine light, was a symbol of his burden, his duty to remember. He was the keeper of a future that had not yet arrived, but whose shadows loomed ever closer. This story, however, is not confined to the divine realms. It is a reflection of our own lives, our own struggles. We, too, carry knowledge, whether it be the painful truth of our pasts, the burden of unspoken words, or the fear of what might come in the future. Like Namtael, we all walk the line between silence and revelation, between truth and destruction. But unlike him, we do not always know the weight of what we carry. We do not always understand the full implications of the truths we hold. But what if we did? What if we knew, like Namtael, that the truths we carry are not merely burdens, but keys to our own redemption, our own healing, our own growth? Namtael's story is a testament to the power of truth, both the beauty and the danger that it holds. It shows us that sometimes the greatest power lies not in speaking the truth immediately, but in holding it until the time is right. Namtael's silence was not weakness, it was strength. His silence was the most powerful force in the universe because it allowed him to preserve the delicate balance between heaven and earth. In this world, we are often tempted to speak too soon, to expose our truths before they are ready to be shared. We seek answers when sometimes the most healing act is to hold our questions in silence. Namtael's journey teaches us the power of patience, the power of waiting for the right moment, and the power of knowing when silence is the most profound answer. But Namtael's silence was not just about withholding information. It was about protecting those who were not yet ready to hear the truth. In our own lives, we may find ourselves in similar positions, carrying knowledge that could change the lives of those around us, but knowing that the timing is not yet right. The lesson here is clear. Truth, like light, must be allowed to grow in its own time. When we rush to reveal it, we risk burning ourselves and others. But when we allow it to come into the world on its own terms, it can heal, it can illuminate, and it can transform. As we contemplate Namtael's journey, let us ask ourselves, what truths are we carrying? What knowledge do we hold, and how are we using it? Are we, like Namtael, standing in silence, waiting for the right moment to reveal it? Or are we rushing forward, desperate to be heard, to make the truth known? In our rush for answers, we often forget that some answers are not meant to be given immediately. Some answers require time, patience, and a deep understanding of the right moment. Namtael's story is not one of finality. It is not a story that ends with a neat resolution or a definitive answer. His journey is ongoing, just as our own journey is ongoing. The truth he carried was not fully revealed, and perhaps it never will be. But that does not mean that his journey is without purpose. Every step he took, every moment of waiting, was a part of the grand design. And so it is with our own lives. Every truth we carry, every silence we endure, has a purpose. It may not be clear to us now, but in time, it will be. As we reach the end of Namtael's story, we are left with more questions than answers. And that is precisely the point. His story challenges us to question, to reflect, and to understand that the truths we hold are not always meant to be revealed immediately. Sometimes the most healing act is to hold that truth in our hearts, to carry it with us until the time is right. If you have felt the weight of this story, if you have found comfort in the silence, or if you have discovered something within yourself through Namtael's journey, I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe, and join this community of seekers who understand that sometimes the most powerful truths are the ones we wait for. Thank you, from the deepest part of my heart, for being part of this journey. Your support, your presence, and your engagement are the energy that keeps these videos alive. Every like, every comment, every subscription is a step toward the truth, toward healing, and toward transformation. Let us continue to walk this path together, carrying the light of knowledge, waiting for the right moment to let it shine.